So the wonderful thing about spirit, about energy, is that generally we feel it. We Some people have the luxury of seeing it, but in this case, I'm the physical example that you can't see me because my camera's not working for some reason, but you can hear me. And most of you have had that experience where you have a sensation or you hear something that guides you in a certain way. And I feel that more and more people are having those feelings and sensations and hearing different guidance as consensus reality breaks down around everybody. So we're going to pass this over to these two beautiful women. Beloved is in the US and Tanya's in Australia. And we're going to start the conversation with, what are you noticing in both of your sides of the world of what's actually happening for people?
It's really interesting. I'm in the US, and what I'm experiencing is, first of all, we were in a cocoon for so long, you know, and I was continuously saying, okay, we're in our cocoons. What kind of butterfly do you want to be when you emerge? And asking myself that as well. We had the opportunity when we went within to be totally different when we emerged, or to be more intentional when we emerge. And what I'm noticing is that so many are still staying within. There's still a lot of isolation and a lot of continuing using technology as our connection. And that's such a beautiful thing, right? I mean, here I'm in the US, Tanya, you're in Australia,
Mhm.
Jacqueline, you're in Canada, and yet we're all right here, at the same moment. And how beautiful that is that we can do that. And I know for myself, my joy and I do all my spirit work, but I sing rock and roll. And so I do open mics. I don't do it professionally, obviously. I do all the spiritual stuff. But open mics are just starting again. So we're just rebuilding those communities. And what I've noticed is they are really becoming communities where in the past it wasn't so much. I mean, there are like 3 or 4 that I go to every week, and they're the same 3 or 4 or 5 that I always went to, and people would come, musicians come, and then musicians go, and some will leave right after their set, and some will arrive right before their set. But now it's like this whole community thing going on, and it's so bloody beautiful.
Mm.
I mean, it's just because that's a place, the spiritual community has all, in my experience, has always connected, even if we didn't know each other before. The moment we meet, it's like, oh yeah, I feel you.
Feel it.
Right?
Yeah. Mm.
But now it's the musicians that are doing that. And so there's an opening there, which is, I think, absolutely lovely.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is
But-
beautiful. Yeah. I noticed that similarly these past few years, I the energy has felt very creative. Here, I'm not sure what it's like in the US. This creative boom of art, classes and painting and sculpting and all of this stuff. And for myself, that was a period of time where I stepped away from, like you said, it was like a cocoon and going into your chrysalis, you know. I really withdrew into myself. It became my sacred time, you know. It was not withdrawing from society or community or anything like that, but it was just very much an internal experience. And it was a really beautiful time because I could see things. It allowed me to see things very clearly without anything else getting in the way. So I could see and feel the, you know, with the creative side of things happening, this energy building, this creative energy. What are we creating? You know, how do we want to create it? It's more of a heartfelt, you know, dynamic that's happening. And I can still see people who are, like you said, with technology, they're still wanting to sort of stay in their familiarity. Though I do see and speak with a lot more people who are saying, you know, I'm not feeling this anymore. So in that, it's another step in the change and an awareness of, for me. I have noticed though, and I was talking with Jacqueline about it prior another time, and it's almost like, again, I'm very much navigating just by feel of everything in spirit. I feel like I had this moment where it's the way to describe it, it was like a click of the tongue. That's what it felt like in my mind, was like, click, okay, we're stepping out of this thing now. How does it feel now? How do you navigate? What are you feeling now? So it was almost like let's take you aside. We'll put you in this beautiful little bubble. We're going to teach you these things. Be aware of. Let's foster this energy and this awareness. Now go outside the bubble. Let's see how you deal with this. Let's see how you process this, how you respond to this. Are you going to, what you've learned, how is this, how are you going to use this now? And it's been quite interesting. There have been times where I've noticed I've reverted back to old patterns, and it's like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But I'm noticing more and more the little, much more subtle, you know. I think for most of us, or a lot of us, we get caught up in the noise of outside, and we're not listening to what's inside. Morning, Greg.
Hello.
So it's been a lovely thing for me to notice other people experiencing their shifts in how they're feeling and processing things more from the heart rather than from the headspace. And yeah.
See, now we've got the US perspective, we have Australia perspective, and now we'll get the male perspective. You can just give it globally if you want, or you can speak from the male perspective, because it's usually different than the feminine perspective.
So what are we talking about anyways?
So what have you noticed in the breakdown of consensus reality right now, what's going on with people?
I think people, without even being aware of it, are breaking down and stepping over and understanding something different. And they're just, I think, like Beloved was saying, like they don't even know it, right? They have no idea that something's changing, and they're just, I think, afraid to express it. Because once we put it into words and put it out there, that's like ownership. Like that's, you can deny everything till you say it. You know, you can be in a group of people that just don't think anything's happening, and you can fit right in, and like the normal. Like I do want a T-shirt that says I am not normal, because I used to say to people before, if you really want to insult me, call me normal.
I'm natural, not normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm considering myself a little bit more free range organic, not normal. Normal's all the pesticide covered stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think depends on how you just want to look at it. Like on certain days, I don't know how to word this. I just was driving for 8-9 hours to get home, and I just got home like 20 minutes ago. I had a really quick shower, and now I'm trying to act like I have energy, and I actually feel pretty good, but I'm tired. I don't actually go around trying to notice anything, because that for me gets the mind too involved, and I don't want the mind that involved. And I just walk around, and where I see opportunity to be a brighter person, I try to take advantage of that, and that's it. Like I keep it really simple, and I do watch. I don't watch any TV, except for like I'll selectively watch YouTube things, like podcasts and stuff like that. I don't listen to the radio, and it dawned on me when I was away. I was away with some friends on a fishing trip, and my son's buddy started watching a sitcom, and I thought, this is the most brain dead thing I've ever seen in my life. And I said that, and then I felt that was a little hard, because he was really enjoying it, right? And I'm going like, but this is so not conducive to the human spirit. Mind blowing, because like I haven't really watched any kind of TV other than like podcasts and stuff for like probably 2 years, and I was kind of blown away by that. And I got to watch myself, because like I'm without filters a lot, and I just kind of put it out there, and it's sometimes not the best thing to say, but yeah. So that is something that I noticed, is that I think the programming that we've been kind of stuck under is all the TV stuff. So I think anyone that I meet that doesn't watch TV anymore, it's like I think they're getting it, even if they don't know it yet.
Mm.
And the one friend of mine that comes with me all the time, his wife works with my wife, and that's how we met, all this stuff. Excuse me. He'd be like, I would put him in a non sort of spiritual kind of area, but like I talk with him at length about whatever, because we're out fishing in a boat for many hours during the day. So like I share all my feelings and beliefs with him, and he's like just intrigued by it, and leaning in and leaning in and leaning in. But I don't think he'd commit, because he puts at risk his whole corporate identity and his corporate job and all the money. And I think that's where the decisions are going to be made in the next little while, is like, who can make that decision?
Yeah, that the invisible face is coming here. So I heard a friend sent me a podcast that was being done between Chris Como of CNN and an independent podcaster, and it was a bit of a debate about what went down and how things were handled in 2020, 2021. The cocoon, as we were talking about, and the isolation, and that point where you're saying about the your friend and the career is what made me think of this, because Chris said, hey, you can say whatever you want, and it's not going to cost you anything, right? But I got people to answer to, and they have people to answer to. And I thought, yay, for some people, they've never, ever thought that far of how business really goes. They truly have never thought of the relationships that happen. They watch it on the movies. They watch and they go, "Hey, beloved, you're the judge. I'm your best friend. Tanya's my sister. Just let her go, okay?" Right? We watch it on a movie, but a lot of people haven't thought that that's actually going down in their world, like really going down. And so I was thinking when I was listening to sort of this, Chris making excuses, and the guy saying, "Well, I'm an independent podcaster. Like, I won't have any followers if they don't agree with me, right? You've got to be honest, and you've got to be ethical, and you got to stick to your values." And Chris is kind of like saying, "Well, I do my best, but I can't," type of response. And for me, that's part of this breaking down is each of us are going to get to the point sometime that you've got to be honest and authentic with yourself and say, am I okay with what's going down here, right? Is money more important to me than being honest with myself and saying I disagree with whatever's happening? So I think it is trickling through, but again, I feel a lot of people can sense this, and they might even be getting the little voices that are steering them, like I'm talking through this right now, but yet they haven't completely embraced it and said, "Great, it's going to be a wonderful new world." And I'm going to let Abdul get up here too. And Abdul, we're talking about the breaking down of consensus reality. And Abdul's joining us from Costa Rica. And then I'm going to bow out. And if you want to jump in right now, if you're ready, brother, what's happening in Costa Rica? Are people recognizing that consensus reality is breaking down, or are they still holding firm to wanting normal?
Blessings, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, and good night. Not really. I think a lot of people are still struggling. Can you hear me?
I'm having a difficult time. You got a lot of interference. Let's see if everybody else makes sure we mute and see if that helps.
Okay, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're still up there. That's
Testing.
better.
Testing. Testing. Is that better? Can you all hear me?
No. You're like up in the outer space somewhere, and we're going, Abdul, come in.
It could be the rain. I don't know. But because we're in the rainy season, and around this time in afternoon it starts to pour. Let's see.
Come closer to the maybe the computer and see if something like that happens. But this could just be part of what happens. We don't always have a clear connection, right?
I have my headset on, so I can hear you. That's why I put it on today. Can you hear me now? Any better? Let's see. And I'm using my phone. Okay.
It does sound like it's rain.
You're on mute, Abdul.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. Where is my... Let me see if I can change rooms then. Let's see how that works.
So would you say that that's also what's happening in the world? Is people are miscommunicating and missing certain messages because there's fuzz in the air or fog in between, or how would you describe that, that they're not receiving what you think, or what you think that they should be getting in this moment?
I've noticed that, oh, sorry. I've noticed that many people, um, attention span is much less, like shorter attention, and not really tuning in. And I know I can be that way. I don't know if y'all do astrology, but I've got a stellium in Gemini, which means I'm all about shiny objects and about, oh, but let's hop here and hop there and hop there and hop there. And I notice so much of that now in conversations, in interacting with people. And I I notice that so much of that happens online is shorts, right? For those of you that do social media, and I've cut way back, but everything is short now. A reel, a story, and it's on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Give it to me in sound bites. And give me sound bites, sound bites, sound bites. Let me get going to the next thing instead of going deep in into things. And I don't know if y'all have noticed that, but when I talk with people, if I make a date with a friend, even if it's online, like if they're far away, we set a time for tea and we each make a cup of tea and we can see each other on our camera. We don't rush. We're really there. We're really present with that person and setting that up. But I have noticed that as things are shifting on the planet, that time is shifting, and people, many people that I've been aware of, are doing things in short bites. Short things, short things, short things. Give it to me. Let me go there.
Yes, and I've been playing with that last week. And so we have our long hour, hour and a half interviews, conversations where we're
Mhm.
actually, usually you can see me. Um, and we're actually having a dialogue, which is what I feel is to help remind people what that's like.
Mhm.
um, and then I discovered that they had on here on StreamYard, they had this little clippy thing that I could try. And so I was clipping, and I was just hitting the button, and I was clipping, and I was having it automatically done, clip, 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 clip. And I will tell you, is so I've been non-active on social media for a couple of years now.
Mhm.
And when you talk about the reels, so I put a whole bunch, sort of out there, but I think almost 4,000 views of the 1 minute reels from the variety, right? Like, so it was very clear to me that, people would just go on the 1 minute thing when you're looking at, oh, that's an hour long video, or that's a conversation. Who wants to listen to a conversation? Yet, that was the idea. I was thinking, what is the pattern? Is there a pattern to see what people are even gravitating to? And I found that some of the words that came out were like about miracle, or trust, and about perception. Those seem to be the words that people were gravitating to, whether they were or just happened to show up on their feed.
Mhm.
I don't know, but it it surprised me for sure of how quickly those got hit. and and how it all works, who knows? But yeah, it's quite amazing. The attention span is very small.
It's very short.
I'd like it if you guys could talk faster.
I had a friend, and I was working with him on some breath work, and I invited him to do 10 minutes. We were talking about blood pressure, and I have a device that you can breathe with. And after about 6 minutes, he stopped, he took it off, and he said to me, "Yeah, but I don't think I can do 10 minutes of this." I was like, okay, that was so interesting to me. You know, as a longtime meditator and yoga and, you know, qigong practitioner and reader and my books, and it's like, wow, you couldn't breathe for 10 minutes to do something valuable for your own body. 10 minutes was asking too much.
Is Abdul ready to try this again? Let her rip.
Yeah.
Blessings, blessings, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's perfect.
All right. All
It's
right.
better. It's much better.
All right. Great to see you guys. What I have been experiencing with my clientele, the clientele that's coming to me actually, uh, being referred by others, some for the first time because they're going through relationship problems. They, a lot of them are yogis, students of yoga, students of A Course in Miracles, and I, 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 I get a sense. Well, they actually admit letting go of the wheel, to describe it, or letting go of the hand that had guided them to a sense of awareness. And so I find myself charged with balancing their mind again and then redirecting them. However, when I first spoke to Jacqueline, I did mention the shortness of attention span, and it's by design because of the technology, what the technology acts. Because any program that you can find on a television now is put on YouTube in a 10-minute thing that will allow you to see practically the whole show. And so that's because of what the technology asks for. And these little these bings and bongs and these tones, we don't realize what they're actually doing to the consciousness, because what they do is take you out of your stillness. So as soon as you hit a bell, boom, you go into a panic. You try to bring yourself back to where you were. But what it's really doing is programming you and keeping you unbalanced. And so we have to consciously go back into our practices, our meditations with intention, so that we can maintain our centers. I just taught a Kriya Yoga course a month ago, and part of it is the pranayama, the breathing, and you realize how many people, they don't even think about breathing. They can't breathe. just to give them, okay, inhale. They it just it is such a strange practice because we have been, for how many years has it been now, this programming with this technology. So this is what we're up against now. And before this, it was really the music that was being put in the atmosphere that was also fast paced. And what music does, it just locks the whole brain. So when you're hearing these sound waves, the whole brain is being involved in that experience in that moment. And so they sped up the music. A lot of it you can't even really understand the wording that's really being said. And so returning to the stillness is really what our objective is, and we have to be mindful of it. We have to be intentional to recommit each day to our to being who we are, because before we know it, we're in a depressed state, and we won't know how we got there. I had a client of mine started writing me about 5 months ago, and she started telling me that she's losing her memory. Abdul, I can't remember, and it was happening in real time to the point where she stopped. She used to write me every day, at least say hello, send a greeting, send a prayer. Haven't heard from her in about a month. She kind of just disappeared. I reached out to her family to send some juice remedies to help her restore her memory, but it's like in the individual, they can't even save their own life. They really need us light workers, us healers, to be available to help guide them back to their center, because it's difficult to decide. You think that the mind is so slippery, and we often think that we can remember something. Somebody said, okay, here's my number, blah blah blah, and you say, okay, yeah, I got it. And by the time you get to the car, you say, wow, what was that number? you know and so we have to realize what's really happening. We're being erased, being made invisible right before our own eyes. So in reality, everything that the body eye sees is an illusion. Now it's at another level where you really are not being seen, because the practice is not to see one another. These devices keep you so entrapped in that, then you're not excited to see another human being. And so I find that that's really what our challenge is this day and time. Our own awareness. To realize that we can get sucked into these rabbit holes and find ourselves with the experience of dementia, which is, uh, I'm pretty sure you too are realizing a lot of people are being diagnosed with that. And what is that? That's simply forgetfulness, a lack of, you go from depression because you're so busy looking behind to dementia. And so we have to do things to keep our brain active. Now we have to focus on the thing that we cannot see, right? We have to, brain health. Brain health is really the objective. We really got to get those supplements that help keep our brains firing we have to meditate, because every time you put your attention between the eyes and you look up, you stimulate the brain. So we have to be conscious of that in our activity. Otherwise, we will be um, known as that. Used to be very happy and oh, so always, and then they say, we'll be voiceless and we'll be just that person that used to be, you know. And you gotta laugh. Gotta keep this thing 100% because this is really what's happening. And it's designed because it's a governmental conspiracy, which when they make the decision to put this technology in the world, they also have to have, a plan, to counter. So they do this. They legalize marijuana, the drugs, another drug that will keep you out of your mind. And this is really what's going on worldwide. So you think it's okay now? Okay, if it's illegal, that means you can consume more of it. And what happens? You disappear. Oh, it's bad. It's good for you. So these people that have injuries, that are suffering through pain, they lean on these drugs, and the consequence is that they lose their mind. You've got to use your eyes is the only part of the brain that's outside of your body. And wherever your eyes are going, that's where your energy is. So you have to be aware at all times what's happening, where your energy is being sourced, and into what. And if you're looking into this machine for your amusement, what is the consequence? And we're witnessing it, and it's going to happen before they start really uh, making it public. And if you watch see what they're saying, these messages that they put out on the so-called news, they're not talking about anything. These things is happening. They know what's going on, but that's not what they're talking about. So, we have to be more vigilant in our awareness of ourselves and of what our purpose is. This is why we're here. We are the ones that have to help steer the people back. And, the reaction I'm getting from the people has been, of appreciation and, of acceptance, the ones that choose to, come to me. And so, I just use each opportunity to make it as holistic as possible, because it's in everything. Your diet has to change. You have to eat whole foods. You have to understand that the food in the supermarket, that's not food, it's food products. It's a difference. So if we have to be more conscious that we have to put life into the life, because the technology is burning our brain cells and putting us in a state of ignorance. And what else can I say? I love you. Because,
I'd like to add to what you were saying, Abdul. We've been trained, like back in the 50s. If you remember, they used to sound the siren, and everyone would have to crawl under their desks in case of a nuclear attack.
Right.
And we look at it and think, that's the dumbest thing. That's not going to help. But it was training. It was training that started a long time ago. And public school is hear the bell, line up, no individuality. I got in trouble a lot. because I never wanted to get in the line and all that sort of stuff. But that's all the training, and absolutely, even our phones, even probably this, and any sort of electronics, there's pulses and signals that are training, always training. You know, and
Draining. Oh, draining.
yeah, draining and training.
Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. And once you start being aware of it, it still can grip you. But like for people that aren't, they don't have that awareness around something might be going down. It's it's super easy for them to just be sucked into the machine. They don't even know they've been sucked in because all their friends are there, their careers there, everything that they believe. Like we laugh about saying things like the Matrix, but it's like that's it. It's 100% it. There's no could it be it, might be it, should have been it. Like it's 100% it. And like the guy in the Matrix, I forget his name now, the actor, whatever, but he says, all I want is a taste of a juicy steak, and I don't even care if it's real. That's the choices people are making right now.
Yeah.
Right? Because they can stay where they are and have that juicy steak and keep going on. Like, it seems very real. And that choice is really easy to make. The harder choices is to question it. Because we all know in our journey, you start questioning, friends go away, new friends show up for sure, but friends go away, people that think you're a little nuts, a little cuckoo. And we're, and that I think that pattern repeats for us over and over again in our lives as we evolve, right? Like we evolve and then we meet new people and things evolve in that way. And yeah, that training started, I think, just after World War II, like where there was a concentrated effort and stuff like that.
Very much a fear-based training, isn't it? Like Pavlov's, a little bit. But while you're talking, I was thinking of Pavlov's dogs. Where they ring the bell to make them salivate. It's much of a muchness, isn't it? We're just salivating over technology and shutting ourselves down and thinking that that's normal, and that's what we want. But it's very fear-based. If you think outside of the box, it's like, oh, it's dangerous. It's, oh, you've got to hide. It's shelter, shelter, shelter. So people just choose not to because it's outside of their comfort zone. They want to be, like you said, like the Matrix. I just want my steak. Yeah. So very much fear-based, isn't it?
You're muted, Abdul. You're muted.
Yeah, just think about what happens every time somebody sends you a text. What decision do you have to make? Do I want to respond? Who is it? You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing. And then so even the food. So it's such a conspiracy, right? So the food, you talk about going back to the war. That's where the food products
When it
came.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, they started giving you dead food. Because that's what they used to try to give the soldiers. So the governments met and said, okay, we're going to provide this for the population. So food products, there's no nutrition in there. Mentally, you think that you're getting something, but you're getting less.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what we have to do, and Thunder mentioned it last week, we have to remember that it's a journey without a distance. So it seems like it might be more difficult, but no, the truth is the same. To return to ourselves, all we have to do is make a decision that that's what we want. And, go back to the tools, because there's the truth about it, the mental structure. So what they're doing is attacking the mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a heavy campaign. And then the things that they tell you, you don't even know, is it important? What does it really mean? Because you're in a state of survival all the time. So that's where we are. So we have to really be mindful of this and don't go to sleep. So don't go back to sleep.
You know, for me, I keep my phone and my devices off most of the time. And I have always felt that a phone call, this was before we could text, my whole life, when someone calls me, they're inviting me to participate in a conversation. They don't know what I'm doing. They don't know if I'm in a bath or if I'm reading or if I'm ready for a conversation. I don't have to accept the invitation if it's not the perfect time for me. And I think all of this began when we had call waiting, right? It's like, oh my gosh, well, I'm on the phone with so, oh, what, I got another call coming in, hold on. So the same thing with texting. When someone sends a text, or if I text someone, that's an invitation. I don't know what they're doing. It's not my intention to interrupt them. They'll get back to me when they can. And I feel the same way, especially since I keep my phone off. I keep it on silence or no ring or that sort of thing. Because all of that, again, it's about inviting someone to participate with us. It's not a got to. Like you were saying, Tanya, we're not Pavlov's dogs. The text comes, oh my goodness, have to do it right away. Why? Why? Why is it so important that that must be handled right this moment? And
It feeds
I,
in. Sorry, go
what?
on. No, sorry, I thought you'd finished. Go.
No, I was just going to say that I've always handled calls that way. So I handle texts that way.
Mm. All of that feeds into it sort of dissolves your boundaries by saying, well, everyone has access to you at any time that they choose to, and there's an expectation that's encouraged that you aren't allowed to say no, or no, give me time, give me space, I'll respond when I want to, when I'm ready to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a situation today, and it was in real life. Do we still have that? So I had dropped a friend at him. He asked me to take him into town. So I dropped him at the grocery store, and I was going to the laundromat. Now, my another friend had said, next time you come to town, let me know so we can get together. And I had the thought last night, oh yeah, I'm supposed to contact Raylene when I'm going to town, but I'm like, no, since I'm gonna, be chaperoning or chauffeuring Eddie around, um, it's not the right time. And so put the laundry in, come out the door. Who drives up in the car? But Raylene
Of course.
and her lovely little 6-year-old, one of her 6-year-old twins, just threw up all over the comforter. And Raylene had to come to the laundromat to get it done. And so I was like, to me, that was the right time for us to have our little visit, right? It was, neither of us created the invitation in that sense, but that was being open to how spirit provided it. And I said, you just go home and you thank your lovely daughter for throwing up all over there. Because if she hadn't, we wouldn't have had this opportunity to hang out for a little bit. And
Mhm.
so I think sometimes when we surrender to what we really feel is guiding us instead of the technology playing the role, we find that life can happen in more mysterious and wonderful ways.
I think so too. Yeah. And it's important to leave space for that, spaciousness for spirit to come in, and or fabulous moments we didn't expect. So that's another thing that I've noticed is spaciousness, and how so many of my clients have no space. And I found that for myself. I mean, the last 3 days, oh my goodness, getting ready for the summit and so many moving pieces and moving parts, getting this ready, getting that ready. It's like, oh, where's my space? I don't know if it's true for y'all.
Well, that's really what we're up against a lot because we're dealing with people that don't have patience. Those that send the message expect a response.
Yeah.
The rain is taking over again, Abdul.
It's cleansing. The rain is so cleansing.
I don't mind sometimes when there's no space, but it's got to always ebb and flow, and you have to be aware of it for yourself because
Yes.
sometimes you will have a lot to do, and you got to get through it, and then you can go back to having some space. And then I know for me, if I get too much space,
Mhm.
I get a little bored. So you know what I mean? Like it's like there's this balance of just enough space, and I'm good. And I learned that because like I'm a carpenter, and when I have just the right amount of work, I'm always happy to move forward. And if I get so much work, it's overwhelming. I just don't even like it. And if I get very little, I'm losing my motivation. So there's always that sweet spot.
Mhm.
So I like it to ebb and flow in a nice even sine wave, and I'm good with that. Like that, I think that's kind of to me, anyways. It's a symbol of life because if it was just flat line, we'd all be bored to tears. There has to be like a little feeling good, a little not feeling good, a little feeling good, and always that because that's the teacher. That's
Mhm.
the teacher. Both sides of that equation, the yin and the yang of that. That's the teachers. You know, I've often said that when people are always happy, it's like I think you're missing out on something. And same the other way, right? When you're always sad, you're it's that one's the obvious one that we all noticed. Like we all noticed that. It's like yeah, that's not good. But it works both ways. So it's the teacher. It's just the teacher, and you're allowed to feel up, feel down, as long as you don't have extremes, right? Extremes on either side. Nice even flow, like just like a lake on a not very windy day that's just got a nice little wave to it. You just kind of can bob like that. So
I don't know. Sometimes those exciting, roller coaster ride, exciting, funny things are good every now and then. Not all the time, like you said, but, sometimes a little bit of extreme is fun.
I agree.
I purposely, if I find myself kind of just not one or the other, I will throw a wrench into my own life and just watch where it takes me. Watch how I respond. Like driving home from work when I worked at a factory years ago. Like this is the quickest, easiest way. And every once in a while, like I don't want to do this anymore, and I'll just drive. Excuse me. It'll take me an extra 10 minutes, but I like the change.
Mm.
They keep your brain going too. Taking different ways. That's an exciting thing to do. And it's supposed to be very, very beneficial for our brains when we're always doing the same pattern to break that pattern,
Well, that's that
especially driving.
saying, right? Do the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
no, that's not how it goes, but it's like expect a different result, doing the same
Yes.
things over and over again. It's insanity. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I've definitely learned that I like variety, right? And and it's that sense of play, I feel. So the play can doesn't just always have to be fun. The play can also be strenuous, or like I just, you know, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you get scared, like there's a range of emotions for a reason, I think. And it's just whether we get stuck in that emotion for a period of time that's beyond what we're comfortable with. I think that's the sign for us to to look at what's triggered us in that respect.
I kind of view it like meditating. When you're meditating, something comes in. If you wrestle with it, it hangs around. But there's nothing wrong with observing it.
Right.
Just don't become involved, right? And then it'll kind of float by, and then another thought will show up. And if it's something that's like the shiny thing, right? Then you'll go, "Ooh, shiny thing," and then it'll hang around a bit longer, right? And there's no right or wrong answers in any of those. There's 100% no right or wrong. It's just whatever's going on at that moment. And it's just that level of honesty that you have on which things you wrestle with and which things you can let go. And that's your teacher, right? Both of them. The things you can let go is a wonderful thing, and the things you wrestle with are also a wonderful thing. And I think people miss out on that. I think the whole new age thing thought you got to just like discount all of that because it's bad. It's like, or run away from negative people. They'll bring you down. It's like, well, if they're bringing you down, then you're too easily affected by it. And there are some that have really strong wills that probably it's best to avoid. But like for the most part, if they have that sort of impact on you, then that's just giving you an indicator of where you're not whole. Because if you're whole, they can be whatever they want to be, and you can stand there and look at them and say, well, you can choose to be that way, and it's not affecting me, and I'm not judging you or anything. It's a non-event for me. And anything that's not a non-event, obviously, we have work to do. So if you avoid all the things that challenge you to a certain degree, then how do you know where you got work? How do you know where the holes in your spiritualness is? Because it's not for other people to come up and point out, oh, where you got to work on. Like, to me, I'm not into that sort of thing. It's kind of like bullshit to me. But unless you're asking someone to point it out and that sort of thing, like it's good in that sense. But that's the world. That's life. You walk out into the world, there's going to be all these things out there. And how you are in that moment, and for sure we all have days when we're tired, and we find stuff that we didn't even know existed. And that's just, it's not about judging even yourself for having those flaws. It's just about finding the joy in it, laughing, going, oh, okay, that was an interesting response I just let out. and and enjoy the moment. Be happy you found somewhere else that you need do a little work. I'll just share a quick story on that. I was at a fire quite a few years ago, and this lady walks up to me and goes, "So you call yourself a shaman?" And I said, "No, I don't." "Well, people call you a shaman." I said, "Well, some have." "Well, how do you let them?" And I said, "Well, I'm not in charge of them. They can do whatever they want." And she goes, "Well, why do you think that is?" And I just looked at her and I said, "You look at everyone at this fire here, and most people got like 3 or 4 things they're working on in their life." I said, "I only have things I'm working on in my life. You can add up all those numbers, and I have twice that many that I'm working on." And she kind of was dumbfounded. She walked away, and she come back in a half an hour and went, "Good answer." Because like I don't know anywhere in my life where I haven't. And I'm at peace with that, because it's just the journey. I'm at peace with not saying I got this figured out, because to me, I don't know. I've ran into a few of those in my life where it's like, I am this. And it's like, I don't believe you. Inside I kind of giggle and go, well, that's really good. I'm going to go stand over there. Okay. And I just move on, because we only have growing room. That's all we have. Nothing else. I coined the phrase a long time ago. It's like we're swimming in a sea of truth and claiming that we're drowning in lies. So.
That was good listening to what you were saying, because I was, as you were talking, I was sort of going from how I have felt in the past to how I'm feeling now, where the belief was, well, I must do all of these things because it's not right that I'm feeling unhappy or sad or whatever, and I was not allowing those emotions to come into myself and pass out of. So because I was resistant to having them in the first place, I was still holding on to them and adding to them, kind of, that little vicious cycle that you can do to yourself. And the feeling that if I had them, then I was not doing things right. So I had to investigate further, and I should have been better than what was going on. I should be more advanced because I knew all of this stuff that should have got me past all of these emotions, these feelings. And again, this cycle of victimizing myself, which it comes down to, is not being accountable for my emotions and my feelings and my responses to things, and not being okay with that. And the looking at the two of them in my thinking from then to now is like, I can go through little turbulences, and now I have them, and I'm aware that I'm having them and going like, I don't like this feeling. Yet in my heart, because I feel more connected heart-wise, not so much head-wise in this, is my heart's just going like, this is great. This is great. Wait, this is great. This is good. This is showing what is this showing you? Look at where are you feeling? What are you still attached to? And I get, even in the midst of my little turbulence, I have great joy in this, in the feeling that I'm having this experience. They're not horrible. They're not bad. I'm not doing things wrong. It's just the experience, and I really enjoy that, and thinking further on that is that when it, like, say, other people, we're taught to be caught in victimhood, and that we're not responsible, that we're not accountable, that we can't do anything about what's happening to us. It's all happening to us, not for us, is, I guess, the way I'm explaining it, and then it just keeps us trapped into that small limited box, which is the fear of don't do things and don't step outside of, and and then again, going back to technology, this sort of feeds into that as well. It's what they call the shorts, in the short videos and the reels, it's doom scrolling. That's the way that they're calling it. So you doom scroll because it's, and it's like, wow, is it? Because I tend to find, I confess, my confession now, I do like watch the shorts and stuff, but I like watching things that are motivational and inspire me. So yes, my attention span is, I'll see something that's really crappy and I'll scroll through very quickly. But it kind of surprised me a little bit that it's termed doom scrolling, because that's what people do, and they just keep feeding that feeling. And from my perspective and seeing that is it makes people not it takes people out of their power of being aware, of being present to themselves, and that's not reality. It's not real. That's not how it is. Being caught in that fear base. Yeah.
Well, talking about fear, so with the mama bear and her 2 baby bears around,
Yeah.
the training is they're bears, okay, and you're never supposed to get between a mama and the babies. So I'm going, oh, they're also a gift. It's a wonderful gift that I saw it under the window. It's a wonderful gift if they're hanging out around my property. And so there's a guy that has stopped me before that I don't know who he was, and he said, "Oh, I saw the bears in front of your place, right?" And his car tends to always sort of slow down going past my property. My property's pretty secluded. And so today he actually pulls into my driveway. And one of the things he says, he goes, "Oh, I saw the bears again last night in front of your place." And I'm thinking, like, why is he always in front of my place at night? Right. I said, have we been introduced? Right. And so he says, "Oh, I'm Earl." And I said, "Okay, great. I'm Jacqueline." And he says, and this is his words. "So a lot of people think I'm a thief, but I'm really not. I'm the one that's making sure nobody's stealing around here." And so I'm like, okay. So now I've decided that the bears are protecting me, because if he's seeing the bears all the time, if that's the case, like, I hear Maya Angelou saying, when they tell you who they are, believe them. Right. And it was just, but I was like, so should I be afraid that he's a thief and he's scoping my place? Right. Because or am I afraid of the bear? And I was like, it's either one. It's still me. I'm in the middle, and I'm still wondering, do I need to be afraid? And I'm like, no, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Right. It's fine. It's just me again, seeing the fears that I can still congregate from really past training, and then recognizing in that moment, and just kind of giggle at myself and say, okay, Jacqueline, like, just, you've had the experience, you're noticing you're still making up stories about it. Now just let it go.
I've been noticing what some people, I watch people around me, and someone will ask like a simple question, like, I don't know, how did you get here? Or something like that. And I'm just trying to make this up as I go on this part because I don't remember any specifics. And people would internalize it, going like they wanted to know this, instead of just answering the question of how did you get here? I just drove down the highway and come down this road here. They'll make up this. That's maybe not the greatest example, but they'll internalize it to such a degree that they're not actually answering the actual question. They're making it up to their own dialogue on how they feel inside their minds and answering from that instead of this simple question. I don't know if that makes sense. But like, I wish I had a better example off the top of my head.
It's called the politician.
The politician? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Politicians do that all the time. They get trained to do that. My wife works at a children's hospice, and she had to go for public speaking training for emergencies, and they literally have professionals that teach you to say only what you want people to hear and never answer the question. And all the politicians are like, they've aced that course, right? And I watch the things that I do watch. Sometimes I'll watch the House of Commons or the Senate in the States. I'll watch what's actually being said in those things, because that means more than what all the news stations report and all that sort of nonsense, right? And to me, the accountability is so gone. Like, it should be illegal to not answer a question. There should be fines in place if you don't answer a question. I'll watch, like in the Senate in the States, they're like arguing about something, and finally one person will go, okay, for the record, let's make this on the record, you're not going to answer my question. And the person will sit there and not answer it. It's like, That should be illegal. As public servants, should be 100% illegal to do that. That's why I'll probably never get elected to any office. Because the accountability is just gone, you know. So, anyways, I drove for a whole bunch of hours today. I am kind of pooped. It was super, super lovely to see your faces and to hear your voices. So, thank you.
Well, it was lovely to see you, and thank you for being here. And how about I'll take a moment and pause and sign off all together. How's that?
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll see
Thank
you
you
all
all.
next week.
Yeah. Bye.